I've got 8 different cheap investments I think you should check out. The first one's definitely going to be the Paris Capsules. Now, when we're talking about the Paris Capsules, we obviously know there's a massive supply surrounding them. However, one thing that the Paris Capsules do have that's very similar to what we saw for Antwerp is a major opportunity, and that's going to be the fact that Copenhagen Major is right around the corner. And if Copenhagen comes out with a bordered sticker, it's very possible we could see a very quick run-up of a lot of these Paris Capsules. When we talk about that, that's a little bit more of a hype demand. However, long-term, I think the Paris Capsules are also in a very good situation. We know they're a very cheap option. They have a lot of market demand right now, relatively speaking, and there's so much opportunity inside of this area for them to still develop as they're still at a 25-cent price point. With that being said, it's not all sunshine and rainbows for these capsules. They obviously have had their own struggles, but I definitely think they should be at least a consideration if you're looking for a very cheap investment. SkinSwap is today's sponsor, and they're also sponsoring you with a free bonus for signing up with the first link in the description. They're the premier place for CSGO and Rust skins with a massive trading site and a top-of-the-line marketplace, offering you the most competitive rates out there and a massive 40% bonus when you're using that link in the description. Combine that with their top-of-the-line selling feature with many payout options and their trading feature legitimately taking you just about a minute, and there's no reason not to sign up with that first link in the description. Now, with the recent game developments and the updates that we have seen, it actually might not be a terrible opportunity to go back and look at Stockholm and Antwerp stickers that don't have borderless alternatives and look potentially at those ones. These are going to be a little bit more on the safer side because we're not looking at Paris here. We're not looking at stickers that definitely have a massive supply. Stockholm and Antwerp have a much significantly less supply than what we're talking about for Paris. Therefore, it makes them a much more opportune area if you're looking for something that's not going to have as much risk as Paris stickers do. Now, these stickers specifically are obviously a little bit more developed, so you're going to be looking for a little bit more of an expensive price point, which is probably why you're going to be sticking with the paper stickers. However, some of these paper stickers in the past have performed significantly better than a lot of other investments, and honestly speaking, there's a lot of opportunity still left to be developed inside of this area. It's just going to take a decent amount of time, and even though the demand has dwindled a little bit, I still think there's a massive market inside of this area. Now, we went ahead and finished our first RMR event. Europe RMR A has went ahead and completed, and 8 teams are now on their way to Copenhagen. A couple big ones I want to point out. Eternal Fire has qualified, therefore their sticker from Antwerp that has currently had no alternatives will have an alternative here if we do see Copenhagen come out borderless. Otherwise, 2 big ones as well. Fnatic has made its chance into the last chance qualifier. 1 out of 6 teams from the last chance qualifier will advance to the major, so their odds are extremely low. Into the breach, currently in Paris, they have a no borderless alternative sticker, and therefore they're going to remain that way because they failed out of Europe RMR A and have 0 chance of making the major, specifically with Ninjas and Pajamas, 3D Max, and a couple other teams you might be familiar with. To go along with this, we're also seeing 3 brand new teams in Koi, which is the previous Movistar Riders, Saw, and Amcal. Really cool opportunity there as well. Now, what do these things mean for you? Specifically, I would not be buying the Eternal Fire sticker from Antwerp just in case we do see Copenhagen come out borderless. It's not going to be a great situation there. Otherwise, I honestly think just keep on watching these RMRs develop. There's a lot of information that's going to give you a huge head start in the market if you know which teams are possibly making it, possibly not, or are going to make it. Now, talking about rare cases specifically, we're going to hit on Clutch and Snakebite in just a quick second, but we're going to be talking about all the other ones which are slightly more expensive. Obviously, nothing crazy. We're talking about maybe potentially 70 cents here, but these ones are definitely going to be right in my wheelhouse when I'm talking about great cheap investments. These have exactly everything we're looking for. If we want to talk about unboxing numbers, they are dominating their respective areas with the Prisma 2, the Prisma 1, and the Danger Zone usually coming around in the top 3. Chroma 3 is a little bit more expensive and it also makes the list. There's a lot of great opportunities inside of the rare case market, and I honestly think if you don't want to get too deep into it, it's a great option here. Otherwise, when we're talking about these rare cases, though, we have consistently seen huge unboxing numbers for a lot of them. We know the supply is dwindling relatively quickly for these ones, and when we talk about a hype period in the game, people flock to these cases in droves. It's absolutely insane what happens to these specific cases. If we want to look at April in 2023, we saw 50 million cases and unboxings happen, and we saw an absolutely massive amount of these cases unboxed. I think, honestly speaking, if you need to make one investment, cases should be a very strong go-to. Now let's talk about the Snakebite and the Clutch case, because these two are a little bit different than what we previously mentioned. Obviously, they are rare cases, but they are the 2 newest rare cases to go, and therefore the supply on these cases is absolutely massive. Now, honestly speaking, the Snakebite is in a very cheap position. If we want to look at the price point, 25-ish cents, roughly, depending on when you're looking, is an extremely cheap price for a rare case. And honestly, if you're going to hold it for a significant amount of time, it definitely is not a terrible pickup because we know the supply is going to dwindle. With that being said, I honestly don't think it's going to see any massive growth in the near future unless we see a major hype, and that's what pushes it up. I don't think that this case currently has the fundamentals to get it to an extremely high price point relatively quickly, just because the unboxing numbers on it are very strong, but they're definitely starting to fall off a significant amount. The case has just lost a little bit of its demand, and the Clutch case could be a better alternative for you to look for an investment just because we know the supply should be a little bit lower and it's still keeping up a consistent amount of demand. Overall, these cases aren't bad, but I think there's better opportunities unless you really want to. Trust yourself, not me. Now, with the official Copenhagen less than a month away, it's honestly not a terrible idea to start thinking about what potentially could come after that. And if you think an operation or a major update is on the way, filler skins might not be a bad idea. Now, when we talk about filler skins, it's changed dramatically in the past couple of months. That's because we got the new drop system, which dramatically increased the amount of filler skins out there. Now, with that being said, filler skins right now are at a current 6-month to potentially 1-year low, depending on which ones you're looking at. Therefore, it does make it an opportune time to buy, potentially if you think they're going to be on an increasing track for the near future. In my personal opinion, it kind of comes down to if you think we're going to receive an operation or a major update after the actual official Copenhagen major ends. We didn't expect this recent major update to come along, and honestly, I think it's very possible Valve is going to try and keep as many players as they can. When we look at the player counts, we're down a little bit, but there's so much more potential in this area that I think Valve is going to try and capitalize off of after the first CS2 major. Another great area to look into is going to be operation items. Now, not specifically agents, because in my personal opinion, I think they've been pumped up a little bit too much for most of them to actually see any actual investment opportunity, in my personal opinion. But when we're talking about stickers or operation skins, these are two areas that have a massive amount of potential. First off, when the operation releases, but also afterwards. Now, not as much afterwards, because we can obviously see a lot of them have seen some pretty significant growth over the past couple of years, ever since Riptide ended, and we haven't seen a new operation in almost 2.5 years. But when a new operation comes around, or even some of these older skins, the potential is definitely there, but it's going to be a little bit harder to find. But if you do find it, there is a massive opportunity inside of this area, and it's something that even now I don't think you should be overlooking. Now, honestly, if you're looking for the #1 most profitable cheap investment, it's going to be my hidden investments or hidden gems. Whatever I've referred to it in the past is going to be the same exact thing. This is going to be specific investments that are for you. Personally, I invested into a decent amount of Stockholm Hollows. I just thought looked cool, and a lot of them appreciated very significantly in price. These are going to be, generally speaking, good looking items that have a limited or a capped out supply. It's extremely important that that second part is there, because if you're investing into something that has an infinite supply, it's not going to end up being a great investment for the most part, almost all of the time. But if you're investing into something that has a very limited supply, it's very rarely that if it has a decent amount of demand, it's not going to go down in price. The only one I can think of that didn't follow this rule was the Shattered Web stickers, and that's because the Shattered Web operation gave out these stickers to everyone, and there was a massive oversupply problem and a really low demand. This does not happen often, and most of the time inside of this area, there's a lot of profit to be made if you can find those specific items that you think look good, a lot of people think look good, and they just go underinvested. Now, out of the entirety of this list, which ones do I think are going to be the best buys right now? Well, in my personal opinion, the #1 thing I would keep my eyes on are these HLTV results. They have so much information that's going to be so valuable to a lot of investors, and not many people really care about them until we get to the actual major. Huge amount of profit potential inside of this area. Otherwise, the hidden investments are definitely a great area to look into. There's, once again, so much profit potential inside of this area because people don't pay attention to it. If you don't want to go those two routes, I would highly suggest just going for some cases. It's a very safe, very reliable investment, and we've seen time and time again, it comes up #1 usually. Now, with all that being said, I think it's very important to point out that you don't have to make an investment right now. If you wanted to wait until Copenhagen finishes, if you wanted to wait until Copenhagen starts, there's so many opportunities to make a good investment that as long as you're using data to make your investment decision, you're going to be in a good position. That's all I got. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you have a great rest of your day.